All right, Shalom. This is Brother Lawyer from Miami,
Shamar.
and first and foremost, we want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the Akim out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, in truth and sincerity. Today, we're going to get into another GMS Miami time capsule. And as we always do, we go into the scriptures, and then we go into some articles concerning archaeology to complement the scriptures. Okay, so today we're going to be dealing with two kings of Israel, Jehoiachin and Zedekiah. So without further ado, brother, if you don't mind, start reading at 2 Kings 24 and 6.
This is 2 Kings 24 verse 6. So Jehoiachin slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin his son reigned in his stead.
Mm-hmm.
And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt onto the river Euphrates all that pertaineth to the king of Egypt.
That particular part of verse 7 is basically talking about a battle in ancient history called the Battle of Carchemish, which was basically a battle between the Babylonian Empire, Nebuchadnezzar and his allies, versus the Egyptians and the Assyrians and their allies. And the Egyptians basically lost miserably. So continue out.
Verse 8, Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of El-Nathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done.
Mm-hmm. So Jehoiachin, the son of Jehoiakim, he began to reign, and he was a wicked Israelite, man. So the Most High is basically about to judge him severely. So go ahead.
At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it.
And that's basically talking about the first siege of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem was, if I'm correct, Jerusalem by the Babylonians was sieged about 2 times, if not 3, but if I'm correct, it was 2 times. The first time was during the time of Jehoiachin, and the second time was during the time of Zedekiah. Okay, so the first siege, the reason for the first siege, of course, political reasons at the time. Jehoiachin probably wasn't, if I'm correct, he wasn't being subject to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he was a wicked Israelite. So the Lord, the Lord judged him anyway. He thought that he could get away with not listening to the Lord, and this is what the Lord did to him. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants, and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign.
Mm-hmm.
And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasure of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said.
All right, so Jehoiachin surrendered to Nebuchadnezzar because he knew that he wasn't going to win. And Nebuchadnezzar took Jehoiachin and his family into captivity. And Nebuchadnezzar spoiled the temple. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land, those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen, and smiths, 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Matthias, Mattaniah, his fathers brought king.
His father's brother.
Oh, Salah. I'm going to reread that again. Salah. And the king of Babylon made Mattanias, his father's brother, king in the stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Right. So here it is. We have Jehoiachin being carried away captive. Him and all of Jerusalem, save the poorest of the land, by Nebuchadnezzar. And the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, put Jehoiachin's uncle as king over Judah and Jerusalem, and changed his name to Zedekiah from Mattaniah. So with that, we're gonna get a second scripture concerning Jehoiachin, because we just touched Jehoiachin and we touched Zedekiah. Now we're going to go into another scripture concerning Jehoiachin in 2 Kings 25 and 27.
This is 2 Kings 25, verse 27. And it came to pass in the 30th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, that
evil Merodach,
king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, out of prison.
So here it is. We have Jehoiachin in prison. And if I'm correct, 2 Kings 25 is I think it goes into the second siege earlier in the chapter. So this is after this, if I'm correct, the second siege of Jerusalem, and Jehoiachin is in Babylon, and evil Merodach, king of Babylon at the time, who was the son of Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, while he was in prison, and he does something particular here. Go ahead. Yeah.
Verse 28. And he spake kindly to him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garments, and he did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king, a daily rate for every day, all the days of his life.
Right. So evil Merodach or Merodach ends up giving King Jehoiachin, while he's in prison, these rations of food, and deals kindly with him all the days of his life while he's in prison until he dies. So with that, we dealt with Jehoiachin before. While he was being taken captive, we dealt with the battle of Carchemish between the Babylonians and the Egyptians. We dealt with Zedekiah, and we dealt with Jehoiachin's rations while he was in prison. So now we're going to get into a few articles. The first article we're going to get into is an article on theosophical.wordpress.com, and the title of the article is Biblical Archaeology 23, Babylonian Chronicles. And if you don't mind reading, brother, starting at discovered, because we already went through the scriptures already.
All right. Discovered in 1887, the Babylonian Chronicles covered hundreds of years of history. The chronicle pictured here three 3.25 inches by 2.44 inches, covers events of Babylonian kings between 605 through 594 BC. Written in cuneiform, this tiny tablet records 3 events. Number 1, the Battle of
Carchemish,
where Nebuchadnezzar defeated Pharaoh Necho in 605 BC.
Right. The battle, like we said, the Battle of Carchemish was the battle between Nebuchadnezzar and his allies and Pharaoh and his allies. And we'll put the article concerning that part of the Babylonian Chronicles in post-production. It's on the screen right now. Because we're not, going to go into that part, in this lesson right now. We're mostly focusing on Jehoiachin and Zedekiah. So go ahead, Art.
Number 2, the
ascension
to the throne of Nebuchadnezzar II. Number 3, the defeat of Jerusalem on March 16, 598 BC.
Right. That's what we're more focused on right there. Go ahead.
In regards to the third event, it reads, in the 7th month of 599 BC.
Right, and we don't know if Esau's dates are off or true or whatever, but it's more about the content of what's written in these chronicles by Nebuchadnezzar, because there's a lot of people out there that says there was no captivity of Babylon and all that, all that nonsense. So we're here to refute that. Go ahead.
In the month
Chislev,
November or December, the king of Babylon assembled his army, and after he had invaded the land of Hatti, which is Syria or Palestine, he laid siege to the city of Judah.
Right, and to give you a background on what the land of Hatti is, the land of Hatti, like the article says, is Syria and Palestine. But the reason why it's called the land of Hatti is because, in ancient times it was inhabited by the Hittites. Okay, so the Hittites were called, the people of Hatti, or the people of the land of Hatti. You had Hittites living in the land of Canaan, and you had Hittites living in Turkey. So yeah, just to give you the background on that. Keep going on.
On the 2nd day of the month of Adara, March 16th of the next year, he conquered the city and took the king Jehoiachin prisoner. He installed in his place a king Zedekiah of his own choice. And after he had received rich tributes, he sent them forth to Babylon.
Right. So there you go. You have in Nebuchadnezzar's Chronicles, in his own records, how he took Jehoiachin prisoner, how he seized Jerusalem in the land of Hatti, which is Palestine, and then he placed Zedekiah, which is Jehoiachin's uncle, in his place. So that's the first article.
Let me read the significance.
Nah, you ain't gotta read the significance. That's the first article, and the second article is from the same website that we got the first article from, and the title of the article is Biblical Archaeology 24, Jehoiachin's Rations, and we're gonna start reading during his excavation.
All right. During his excavation of Babylon in 1899 through 1917, Robert Coldewey discovered a royal archive room of King Nebuchadnezzar near the Ashtar Gate.
Right, the Ashtar Gate is basically an ark or gate in the city of Babylon before you get in, and it's believed that Nebuchadnezzar is the one who built it in honor of his false god, whatever.
It contained tablets dating to 595 through 570 BC. The tablets were translated in the 1930s by the German Assyriologist Ernest Woodner.
Mm-hmm.
4 of these tablets list rations of oil and barley given to various individuals, including the disposed King Jehoiachin by Nebuchadnezzar from the royal storehouses, dated 5 years after Jehoiachin was taken captive.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, you could go ahead and read.
One tablet reads 10 silla of oil.
Mm-hmm. And a silla is a measurement of oil.
To the king of Judah. What's this?
Jehoiachin.
Which
now I guess that would be the Babylonian way of pronouncing or writing Jehoiachin's Hebrew name. Yeah.
2.5 silla oil to the offspring of Judah's king.
Mm-hmm.
4 silla to 8 men from Judea.
Mm-hmm.
Another reads 1.5 silla oil for 3 carpenters from
Arvad.
Half a piece, 11.5 silla for 8 woodworkers from
Byblos.
3.5 silla for 7 Greek craftsmen. Half a silla a piece. Half silla to the carpenter.
Nebuchadnezzar.
10 silla to
Ikuukinu,
the son of Judah's king.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 silla for the 5 sons of the Judean king.
Right. So, as you can see in the Babylonian Chronicles, actually in Jehoiachin's Rations, which is in the Chronicles or archives of Nebuchadnezzar, it talks about how food was rationed to Jehoiachin and his sons, as is recorded in 2 Kings 25 and 27. So, I mean, there you have it. And the next sentence is actually quite interesting.
Notice how much more Jehoiachin got than anyone else. Obviously, he had the king's favor.
Right, and the king that it's talking about there is evil Merodach, which is the English way of saying his Babylonian name, Amel Merodach, and when you go into 2 Kings 25, it talks about how evil Merodach spake kindly to Zedekiah and how he shewed favor to Zedekiah and changed his prison garments. That's not something that kings normally do to their prisoners and conquerors. They don't normally do that. So it's clear that Jehoiachin had the king of Babylon's favor, and that's why he received so much more than everyone else. 10 in comparison to 11. Well, 10 in comparison to 2.5 and to 1.5, etc., etc. So with that, I mean that's pretty much what we have for this time capsule. You have anything else you want to add on?
No.
Khan, we're going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught us this truth and have labored in the work. And salutations to all the Akim out there, pushing the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, in truth and sincerity. With that, we're going to say Shalom.
Shalom.